Hi,
Welcome to
Kathy.
the first information session for the Good Word Writers Retreat. I'm Kathy Yannick and I created the event. I wanted to share a little information about you, how that transpired. So let me start at the very beginning, which my voice as a writer is hope, new beginnings, and starting over. So based on that, I wanted to locate an area of the world that matched that. And Patmos, Greece was recommended to me in a strange twist of fate that I will share with you if you come to the retreat or at another time. And when I investigated the island, it's one of the islands in the Dodecanese, it was 100% the right place to be. It's spiritual, it's beautiful, there's no neon. A lot of the restaurants line the beach so you can eat with your feet in the sand. You can also shop until 1 o'clock in the morning, which is fun for everybody. And you can have a dinner in the town square with live Greek music. So aside from all of that, which was perfect, I knew that I wanted to create a retreat with value. I wanted to create something that would match what I wanted when I paid to go to a retreat. So number one for me was to focus on the writing. So at this retreat, that's what we're going to do. The way the schedule will be set up is you will write, you will rewrite, you will write again and rewrite. And when you leave, you will leave with something that's very close to being a top finished project. We have a very small number of attendees, so we'll be able to do this. And another thing that I thought about for the retreat was, what can you do when you go across the world on a trip like this? How can you make it even more special? And my answer to that is to make that trip your own, whether you do something before the retreat or after. Pick a hobby that you like or another island and really make that trip something that's yours. And that's why Julie is on this Zoom, because she's going to give you some ideas about that. So I'd like to introduce you to my esteemed panel of mentors, Jen Grisanti, who is my mentor, who is a very, very well-known and respected mentor. She has helped over 150 writers get staffed in writers' rooms. She has helped over 107 writers sell their TV pilots. And the rest of her bio you could read online. Now we have Tyler Thompson, who is a writer for the TV show The Chosen, which is in its 3rd season. And Tyler is also a playwright, and he writes short films. When he is not doing that, he has a nonprofit. I've got Marty King Young as well, a colleague and a friend. Marty most recently sold a TV pilot and a series to PureFlix, which is Sony's streaming arm for faith-based content. Marty has worked as a filmmaker, a director, a writer, and a producer, among other things. Marty loves networking. And Julie, I mentioned briefly, will tell you a little about traveling. So without any more chat from me, I'd like to open the talk up to Jen and have her speak to you about why she likes writers' retreats.
I love Writers Retreat. The number one reason I love retreats is the arc of growth that happens from day one when people arrive to the last day. So the sense of community that transforms during the time that we are together is something that will live on in your heart forever. So this is one of the things I value the inspiration. When you have people such as the mentors and Julie and Kathy involved in an event like this, you have all these minds coming together and we share your passion and we all have the goal to get your script to the best place possible while having a blast doing it. So these are the main things. And the last thing would be the sounding board element. When you go away on retreat, then you are with other people, and certainly with Marty and Tyler, you're with people who are probably doing what you would love to be doing. So having them there to share their passion and experience is going to be unforgettable.
Thanks, Jen.
You got it.
Tyler, what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's always good just to change up your surroundings. I think sometimes we get into a rut with our work. We're used to kind of what we see out the window, or we know that like at a certain time of day, maybe a family member is coming home or a partner or something. And we're going to be doing the same things that we usually do, or go to our normal gym. But when you shake up your surroundings and you go to a distant place, a faraway place, a beautiful place, a creatively inspiring place with beautiful views, it does something to your mind. It's like a reset and a refresh, and it kind of opens things up that you didn't know were closed. That's been my experience. On the TV show that I write for, we have short retreats every month, because they're kind of like hooks that you can sort of string the whatever from, it just kind of keeps the thing happening. And then once a year we have longer ones, usually out on a ranch or a fishing retreat in Oregon, as far like with no cell service, just shut everything down, no distractions, responsibilities of family, other commitments just sort of stripped away. We have a concentrated effort, and I always just find I come away feeling refreshed and excited with new ideas. And yeah, I'm excited for this writing retreat and all the ones I have coming up in between.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Miss Marty?
About to say, I need to come right on Tyler's show. That sounds fun. I would say that, well, I've been on writers' retreats before as the writer coming in and just being the sponge and absorbing. And I loved it because I was around like-minded people. Like everybody there got it. Everybody there knew what I wanted. Everybody there was also positive and so like-minded and so cheerful and helpful. And there was no ego involved because we all knew we were on different facets of our journey. Like some of us are further along than others. And that was perfectly fine because those who were further along could help the ones that were just starting out. And I love that. And I love the fact that we would exchange pages and we would read one another's, and you would know when something worked and when something wouldn't. And they would explain all of that. And it also taught me that whenever I got something, a subject or a scene, and I kept bumping up against it, as a group, they helped me become curious over why I was bumping up against that. What was the psychology of what I was bumping up against? Because whatever I was bumping up against was something deeper inside of me. It was a subject that I didn't want to deal with, and I needed to know why. And when I walked away from that retreat, I didn't walk away a good writer. I walked away a great writer. And that's something for me to really say that, because I don't like to toot my own horn, but I know that I know what I'm doing. and it was all because of that. So it gave me a level of confidence, a feeling of worth too, in that my words mattered, that I knew, that I really did know what I was doing, because I had instructors telling me that was good. And it wasn't a friend, it wasn't a family member, it was somebody who's and I can't tell you how that just opened up my mind. It opened up my doors. And after that, I was just booking things right after another, right after another, right after another. So I can't say enough about it. I think it's great. Go for it.
Wonderful. Jen, as far as being a mentor, because you've done so many retreats, can you talk a little bit about working one-on-one when the writer comes to you with their first draft? What do you see as your role?
Yes. So working one-on-one, the value is, again, I think being in a safe environment with the recognition that we are all on the same team. As Marty mentioned, there is no ego. It is only getting your writing to the best place possible. So with the notes, the value is we're reading your scripts and we're going to give you professional feedback from our experience, and it's going to give you an opportunity to understand what it is to be in a writer's room. It's going to give you an opportunity to brainstorm. It's going to give you an opportunity to learn how to hear a note, which is of tremendous value. It's also, I think, the value of being on a retreat when, you know, receiving notes can make people vulnerable because your script is your baby, and we all recognize this. And the value of being in a place where everybody is receiving feedback is that you can connect with each other about the feedback and understanding the feedback, and you can talk it through so that you understand what it is to hear a note and to implement a note, and to know that everybody is rooting for you to get your script to where it needs to be.
I love what you say about hearing a no, and I think that's a perfect segue for Tyler, because Tyler shared with me that he writes every episode of The Chosen alone first by himself, which is pretty spectacular. And so maybe you can talk a little bit about that, how you have to be okay with people changing what you write, Tyler.
It's a kind of vulnerability. I also appreciate, Jen, what you said about the ability to hear a note and get feedback. It puts you into a fight or flight, because I feel like it's my baby, you know, and I wouldn't put it on the page if I didn't believe in it. And so part of the collaborative process is believing that you might not be able to see things that you have we all have blind spots. And so it's incredibly useful in a writer's room when you have fellow writers who have a very different perspective or a very different background, and they kind of point things out and they're like, no one talks like that, or that feels like a coincidence to me, and we only get one coincidence per season in The Chosen. So no coincidences, no dreams, no flashbacks. We cheat that sometimes, but being told no, I used to really struggle with it, or someone saying like, we're going to cut that whole exchange, or we're going to swap that out. It used to hurt a lot, but it's kind of like a callus that you get from playing an instrument on your fingers. You start to feel it less, and you start to, when you see the outcome, you believe like the best idea is going to win, especially when you have things like mentors, or co-writers, or people who are reviewing your script who have a vested interest, not just someone who's like giving you their feedback just cause, but someone who has an investment in the outcome.
Excellent. And Marty, how do you feel about writers coming to you with a first draft and how you like to work with them?
I've had a few people come to me with features and different things, and I love it because I can sit there and sort of, I can see their idea. I can see their idea and the little kernel that they have, and to help them crack the shell and find it themselves is so much, it's so beneficial for me just as a person, because I love to cheer people on. And when they get it and they're like, oh, this is why this happens, you know, it's just such an amazing feeling, because, you know, when you're writing, you see it all, but you have to put it on the page because we can't see it, you know. And so helping people discover that, helping people understand that there really is a psychology to it, to hypnotizing the reader, to speaking in fragments, you know, it's got to be short and fast. And there's a way that your brain processes information, and just getting them to realize that, and then watching their faces when I turn back in their pages and I'm like, that was amazing. That was amazing. And just to see the smiles and the, oh my gosh, you know, because when they first come to me, sometimes it's, you know, it's not good, but I can see what they want to do. And in helping them just learn how to take a step back, like Jen says, is great to hear a note and not all of a sudden throw up this wall, because that again is another thing. You need to get curious about why you have that response, because we're literally trying to help you. And if your instant reaction is to throw up a wall, there's something deep in there that you need inside of you that you need to work through and hear. And we're here for that. You know, we can do that. Like, because like, it's like Jen says, you know, this is a completely safe space. We are literally all rooting for everybody else. And the benefit of coming to us, a writer's retreat, is the fact that you have us all to yourselves. Like, you're not we're not in an auditorium and you're listening to us talk, and a moderator is asking us questions on a panel. You get one-on-one time to literally pick our brains. And it's just amazing. Like on the writers retreat that I went on, my mentor was there, and he sat down with me after everybody had left for the plane. And he just sat down with me for 2 hours while I was waiting for my bus and told me how to get an agent and how to do all this stuff. And, it was the stuff that wasn't covered. And those are those moments that make everything, like, it just made it completely magical to me. And I hope that we can do that for all of you too.
I'm sure we can. I wanted to talk briefly about what type of material each mentor wants. And so if you'd like to go around and just say, if you like a drama or historical or dealing with a wound and the flaw, if you would like to say what type of material would be best suited for a writer looking to come to this retreat for each of you individually.
Well, for me, I'm wide open. I cover drama, I cover comedy, I cover features, so for me, yes, I tend to love stories that have an internal and an external aspect so that we feel the transformation. So I tend to gravitate towards a story that has an in-depth meaning in doing it. And I think that's all what we will go through. But I am open. I am all about finding a tremendous story that reveals emotional truth and tells me you have something to say to the world.
Love that.
Love that.
And I might add that since this is the Good Word Writers Retreat and we are on Patmos Island, you don't have to write spiritual material, but it does have to be uplifting material.
Cool. Yeah, I'm wide open too. I appreciate what Jen said. I specialize in drama and historical. So if you have a historical drama or you have a historical story, I'm really interested in research and world building and understanding language from a time other than our own, even if it's in English. I think that can be a fascinating world building exercise that can be very immersive. So I'm really into that. Similar to Jen, I'm really interested in stories where someone is overcoming both an internal and an external obstacle. I don't like just one or the other, but I'm again completely open. If someone has internal pressure that they're trying to confront, I get more excited about that. But I also love the challenge of an external obstacle or an external, enemy or foe that's standing in the way of our protagonist. So those are kind of my two things that I really am looking for.
Thank you.
That's awesome. I write I'm a genre hopper. So as long as you come to me with a character that like they said, is going through something that we can latch onto, it's going to be fine. It doesn't matter what genre it is to me, because I'm not here to tell you, what you need to write this in. I'm here to help you find that journey. I'm always looking for emotional truth when it comes down to what somebody's going for. You have your hero. Well, that's great. Well, does your antagonist also think he's the lead in his own movie? Like, what did he go through too? These are just things to think about. So it really doesn't matter to me if what genre it is, as long as it's the truth of the story. I'll help you, find that and hopefully chisel it out and refine it and make it something that you can be proud of by the end. I just love seeing characters that look like there is no way that find a way, because to me, that's just completely God, and I love finding that in anything, but especially in a screenplay, because the way I write, you are always going to find the underdog overcoming every single time. It doesn't matter what genre it is. If it's a drama, it's going to be there. If it's a comedy, it's going to be there. And that's what horror is. Not that anybody here is going to be into horror, but it's somebody who you don't want to die, doesn't die at the end. But So I'm always that's my goal, just to find that emotional journey and make sure that they go through that, as well as like you all said that that there's outside forces as well. I like that too. But for me, I'm mostly going to look at the inner turmoil and make sure that, you know, they're going to have the roughest, toughest time possible to get whatever it is they want. So it's hard on them, but it's going to be so gratifying at the end when it happens. But that's me.
I've been looking at the Q&A to see if anyone has a question that I can read. I apologize, I cannot enable the chat. So if anybody does have any questions at this time during this part of the discussion, please put it in the Q&A and I will read it for you. Okay.
Sorry, that was me.
Aside from unmuting the chat, if you have any other questions, let me know and I'll read them. And at this time, Julie, would you like to take a minute to talk about some travel ideas?
Yes, I would love to. Thank you. So my name is Julie Yannick, and yes, I am Kathy's sister, for those of you that may not know that. And I am fortunate enough to be Kathy's one of her assistants throughout the planning, especially for the travel part of the retreat. I was invited to be part of the Recon group, which was consisting of Kathy and I, and we traveled to Patmos and to Greece in September of this past year. And during that time, we were able to really do a lot of discovery, obviously nailed down 100% that Patmos was going to be the best place for you guys to be. And so she just asked me to share a little bit about the logistics and some travel. This is by no means a travel presentation, but just, you know, enough just to give you a little snapshot. So I'm actually going to attempt to share my screen at this point. Hopefully this will work. And can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay. So again, just a very brief overview of Patmos, and Kathy has a lot more that she will discuss with you. But, you know, I'm sure you guys have a lot of choices about where to go. And I've seen some of the different advertisements for some of, you know, additional retreats that have come up. But Patmos, hands down, you will not find a better place that you will be able to go, unwind, check out, do the things that you're there to do, focus on your writing, but also just have an experience of a lifetime. I'm sure by now you've probably done a little bit of research. You come to know that Patmos does have a lot of history behind it. It actually has been called and is known as the Sacred Island. Talk just very briefly about what that means. The history of the island I find very interesting. What we did learn was that it was actually used as a place of exile for convicts, for political, religious troublemakers, you know, back in the very, very early times, as going far back as 20 AD. So one of the most famous people that were exiled to Patmos was the Apostle John. He was sent there by one of the Roman empires of his time, and he was sentenced to live in a cave for 18 months on top of the hill, which is where he did live. During his time there, he was inspired. He was said to have received visions, and during the time of exile, he actually did write the book of Revelations. So it's really something that Patmos is known for. There have been a lot of Christian pilgrimage. People visit there when they are on the island. You can visit the cave where he did spend the time. It's very, you know, moving. It's very spiritual and just really has a different feel from anywhere that I've ever been able to visit before. You can see in some of the other pictures, and we might be covering it up, but the picture on the top hand right, there's a monastery that's on top of the hill in Patmos, and it can be seen from everywhere. And it was built and dedicated to St. John back in the 15th century, I believe. I put a picture of a church because no matter where you go, you know, there really is just, there can be churches that are the size of one room, or churches that are, 2,000 square feet, and they're kind of just peppered in along the island, which is just something that was, really interesting to see. It's just really got a lot of history there. Just a couple of snapshots just showing the beauty. There's so much natural beauty of Patmos. And there are two areas. There's Scala, which is the port, and then Cora, which is more at the top of the island. They have very different feels to them, but just both so unique and, again, welcoming. It is obviously a touristy place, but the people that live there, the locals, truly are what made us fall in love with Patmos. Being there for just a few days, we really did develop friendships with people who knew us. We were fortunate enough to frequent some of the same restaurants multiple times, and cafes and bars, and really just got such a good feel for the people there. It's such a beautiful place. You can see on the bottom left-hand corner there, one side of the street has your boats and your beautiful water, and the other side has all of your eateries and your shopping. And it's just a place you can just walk through and you feel safe and you feel welcomed. And then you go to the top of the hill and you can walk down a dirt path. So it's just completely beautiful. So much life to see there. The food was amazing. The people, again, the shopping, you just can't imagine, if you've never been there, the feeling that you get when you're walking through there. Obviously, it's right on the water, so there are beautiful beaches, as Kathy alluded to, many which you can just literally walk. We saw people just walk off the street and have a towel, and they threw their towel down and they took a dip in the beach, and then they, sat down and had a glass of wine and a piece of pizza and went about their way. So it just really has just such unique flair to it. Highly recommend it. Where is it? So it actually, as Kathy did say, it's part of the Dodecanese, which is a word that I always have to pronounce and practice. Part of the Dodecanese Islands, which are the islands in the Aegean Sea, southeast of Athens. You can see I put a little circle around it. It definitely sits sort of, a little further away. So how do we get there? And that's where, Kathy and I are going to be able to provide some assistance to you. Obviously, since it is an island and it's on its own, you have to take a boat, you have to take a ferry to get there. And there are some different options, and we really came to embrace the ferries. We love them, and we did a combination of ferries and planes throughout our trip in Greece. And that is something that we can help you with in more detail as well. The ferries run from multiple different ports. There's one in Athens that you can take, runs 3 days a week. The ferry trip is anywhere from 7 to 12 hours, depending on how many stops you make. And they are amazing. We had a ferry experience that we just absolutely were floored by. We walked onto this ferry, and it was like we were literally on a cruise ship. We had a stateroom that was beautiful with beds and areas to sit in, and there were lounges and restaurants. We just couldn't believe it. And it was extremely affordable. And then, the ferries that jump from island to island are obviously a little smaller, but you just can't beat it. You can't beat the experience of being out in this beautiful water. You're taking in all the scenery of these mountains that you just don't see in other places of the world. So it truly is just, it infuses all aspects of all the senses that are around you. And I'm not a writer, but I felt very inspired just by life, by being there. You can plane hop from some of the islands from one to another. And that is something that we also did do when we flew to Athens. From Athens, we took a plane to Kos, and then from Kos, we took a ferry to Patmos. And then we reversed it, and we went back through Los, and then we actually went to Athens, and then we went to Santorini. Which leads me to, where else can you go? If you're traveling to Greece, there's so many places you have to take in. We couldn't fit them all in. We were fortunate enough to do Santorini, Athens. We obviously did Kos, Leros, Patmos, but there were so many other places on our list. And when we go back, we're going to try to narrow down where we want to go to as well. But I definitely encourage you to start doing some research. Greece is such a unique, beautiful place, and there's so much exploring to be done there, and you just won't go wrong anywhere that you're going to go to. So that's it for now. Very quick overview, but it is just one of the most beautiful places that I've ever been fortunate enough to go to.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome.
We have some questions that have come up, and I would like to read one question by Duffy. He wants to know, I know you're discussing TV episodes and features, but what about the development of a series? Will that be something discussed or available to discuss?
Yes, absolutely.
Of course.
We also have a question saying, what about unfinished scripts? Can we come with something unfinished, or is it better to have a finished draft?
I
Done
think
is
it's
better than
whatever you
perfect.
want.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. I think done is better than perfect, but it can be anything.
Yes.
Okay.
We're here to help you, like in any stage.
Hmm.
We've been there, we've walked through it. So we're going to literally tell you how we have bled and let you be successful through our wounds.
I think one of your friends is on here. He said, I think Tyler is a stupid name.
I do too, actually. I lay tile. What?
I like the name Tyler.
I do too.
What's that?
I
Aw,
do.
aw, he got
Uh,
trouble.
Somebody else wants to know if somebody's hair color is natural.
Hi.
I'm not sure who they're
Irrelevant.
referring to. And let's see.
Oh, there's a
If
new one.
anybody wants to ask a question regarding writing, we'll be happy to answer it.
I see where Faith Murphy's asked, how many writers are you hoping to have join the trip?
Perfect. Thank you. That's an excellent question. We are going to do this retreat this year, come high water or whatever else that saying is. So if we have as little as 3 writers per mentor, we are going to have the trip. The max would be 5. So you're going to get a lot of attention. But with as little as 3 times 3 is 9, we're going to do the trip. Hope that helps, Faith. And that's really an added value for me, which is why I really loved going to the last retreat I went to. Some of these mentors like Jen, you have to book 9 months out to your script. So say you're on a roll and you really get a lot of work done and then you've got to wait 9 months. It's frustrating. That's why I designed the retreat with writing as the main focus and with one-on-ones. So if you come with something that's in very good shape, you're going to get to see Jen 4 times in that week. And once you
Right.
get those notes and can rewrite, when you leave, you're in good shape.
Right.
So
That's awesome.
any other things that you'd like to say, Jen or Marty or Tyler or Julie?
Somebody else just popped in to the chat down at the bottom. It
What
says,
did they ask?
it says, hi, I'm traveling by train right now, so my service has been spotty. This is Robert, by the way. I missed some info. What's the cost of the trip and what does the day-to-day look like? I have some TV shows I'm writing and can I bring them?
Excellent. Great question, Robert Rivera. June is National Mentors Month.
Got
So
it.
it's great news for everybody that wants to come to the retreat. We are massively discounting this retreat. You can pay as much as $950 less off of the regular price of $5,800. So for $4,850, if you can pay with anyway without credit cards, so we don't absorb the credit card fees, you can secure this retreat. So that will be offered for the month of January. But some of the mentors already have spaces filled, so you're going to need to act quickly because once we get past 5, there will be no more spots left. I hope that helps, Robert. We're going to have this recording so that you'll be able to ask questions later. And let's see what the second part of your question was. The day-to-day looks like you get up in the morning, you go to breakfast, then you meet with your mentor, one-on-one, just the 2 of you. She or he gives you notes. You can go to the beach and work on your work. You can go to your room and work on your writing, or you can go fishing. You can do whatever you want for the rest of the day. Then we will have every day a sip and savor wine event in the private bar at our hotel, where a Greek wine expert will be doing wine tastings and Greek mocktails for those that don't want wine. So we'll do that every day of the week before dinner. Then we'll go to dinner and you can go shopping till 1 or stay in the town square or hang out with your new friends or go to bed. And then we wake up and repeat. There will be some special events peppered in. We're going to do a sunset sail on the Aegean Sea and other events also. So I hope that helps.
And he asked if he could bring the TV shows that he's writing. We've already said yes.
Bring him on.
Yes.
And
then
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Faith Murphy dropped into the chat with another question too. You go ahead.
Oh, sure. I was just going to ask, I think that Tyler has written about Patmos in an episode
We
of The
have.
Chosen.
We have, and to your point about being told no, it got cut.
Aw.
But who knows? Patmos will surely show up in The Chosen before we're done. I'll make
Okay.
sure of it.
Awesome.
I hope so. Let's see, other question.
Can you see it?
I don't.
I can read it. I see it.
Please.
It says, writing, mentoring is wonderful. How about sharing and networking after the retreat? That is, if the writing is worthy. Can we do that?
1,000%. I
Yeah.
mean, I have connections from my past retreat that I still stay in contact with. We will also have a private Facebook page that will be available for a year that we will ask the mentors and everyone at the retreat to post on. I know Marty loves networking with writers and is very good at it. So if you're also looking to not bring a project and just talk about networking, for example, with Marty, she'd be a perfect person for that. Maybe you want to use your time every day to say, how did you get where you are? Give me the details, like tell me the secrets. So you can also do that. You can use your time however you like at the retreat.
It's gonna be great.
I don't want to keep everybody too long. We were trying to go about 40 minutes. Mentors, is there anything you'd like to say in closing? Or Julie?
Let's see, in closing, I encourage you all to jump on this opportunity because the place is gorgeous. You see these beautiful minds that I am so beyond excited to work with, and focus on the writing. The writing is the one thing you can control. So when you do retreats like this, you have the opportunity to do the emotional work as well, and that is going to show up on the page.
Yeah. MFR.
Beautiful. Well said. And if Jenny's your mentor, she will make you cry the first time you meet her, but you'll be a better writer after it. Everybody says it. I mean, I cry all the time anyway, but I really cried when I first worked with her. Jen's got a class also that you can go to her website and look at. It's going to be starting soon.
Nice.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yes,
I appreciate it.
absolutely. And please watch The Chosen and please follow all of the mentors. And thank you for being so patient when our chat didn't work. I'm going to work on my technical skills. I appreciate you all coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. We hope to see you.
Yes. We're so excited. Come visit.
Yeah, let's hang.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.